The young billionaire stepped out of his sleek black car as evening shadows stretched across the city. Christmas lights shimmered softly on shop windows, and the cold air carried the smell of baked bread and burning wood. He adjusted his expensive coat, his phone pressed to his ear, discussing profits, mergers, and numbers that never seemed to end. Christmas Eve meant nothing to him except another quiet night in a mansion too large for one soul. As he walked past a small bakery, lost in thought, he did not notice the heavy leather wallet slipping from his pocket and landing silently on the cold pavement behind him. Few steps away stood a poor mother named Sarah, her body tense against the freezing wind, a thin worn shawl barely covered her shoulders. Beside her was her 6-year-old son Adam, his small hands red from the cold gripping hers tightly. They had been walking since morning, looking for warmth, for hope, for something to eat. The bakery window glowed warmly, and they stood there pretending to read the menu just to feel the heat through the glass. Sarah noticed the wallet. The moment it fell, at first, she thought it was trash left by careless people, but when she bent down and picked it up, she felt its weight. Her heart skipped. She opened it slowly, and her breath caught. Inside was stacks of cash, crisp cards, a golden emblem. Everything about it screamed wealth. Her hands began to shake. This money could change everything for them tonight. They could eat, sleep somewhere warm, buy medicine for Adam's cough that had worsened over weeks. Adam looked up at her, eyes wide. "Mama," he whispered, "is that money?" Sarah looked at her son, his face pale, lips trembling, not from greed, but from hunger. Her chest tightened for a moment. The world around her faded. The noise, the lights, the cold, all disappeared, replaced by temptation, fear, and prayer. She closed the wallet. "Gentle, I know, my child," she said softly. "It is not ours." Memories rushed through her mind, her late husband teaching her honesty, even in poverty, her mother reminding her that dignity was the last thing no one could steal from you. She swallowed hard, feeling tears sting her eyes. Then she straightened her back, looked ahead, and saw the young man still walking, talking on his phone. Unaware, she began to run, her worn shoes slipping slightly on the icy ground. "Sir," she called out, her voice shaky. "Sir, you dropped something." The billionaire turned, irritated at first, ready to brush her off, but when he saw the wallet in her hands, his expression changed instantly. He reached into his pocket, panic flashing across his face, then relief as he grabbed it and opened it quickly. Everything was there, untouched. He looked up slowly, really looked at her, her cracked hands, thin coat, tired eyes, then at the small boy hiding behind her. "Leju could have kept it," he said quietly. Sarah shook her head. "Tonight is Christmas Eve," she said simply, "and God is watching." Those words hit him harder than any business loss ever had. He was silent for a long moment, unsure what to say. People around him always wanted something: money, favors, influence. But this woman standing in the cold wanted nothing. "What is your name?" he asked. "Sarah," she replied. "Oh, you have somewhere to go tonight?" he asked without thinking. Sarah hesitated, then shook her head. "We will manage," she said automatically, the words she had learned to say, even when they were not truth. Billionaire looked at Adam, who began coughing harshly into his sleeve. Something twisted painfully in his chest. He ended the call on his phone without caring what his assistant would say. "Come with me," he said finally. "Let me at least buy you dinner." Sarah tried to refuse, but Adam's eyes lit up at the word dinner, and her resistance broke. They followed him into the bakery. The warmth rushed over them instantly. Sarah felt her legs weaken as they sat. The smell of fresh bread, soup, and sweets filled the air. Adam smiled for the first time that day. Billionaire ordered more food than she could imagine: soup, bread, pastries, hot chocolate. Adam ate slowly, as if afraid it would disappear. Sarah watched him, tears slipping down her cheeks unnoticed. "Where is his father?" the billionaire asked. Gently. Sarah lowered her eyes. "He passed away 2 years ago," she said softly. "An accident at the factory. Since then, every day had been survival work. When possible, sleep. When allowed, hope. When she could afford, eat." After they finished eating, the billionaire stood and walked to the counter, then returned holding a small card and a set of keys. "There is an apartment nearby," he said quietly. "Already paid for 1 year, warm, safe. You can stay there." Starting toned, Sarah stared at the keys, unable to speak. This was too much to Sudin. "Cannot accept this," she whispered. "You already gave me more than this tonight," he replied. "You reminded me what kind of person I forgot to beat him." Reached for the keys, eyes shining. "Mama, are we going home?" Sarah finally broke. She covered her face and cried. Years of fear, exhaustion, and quiet prayers poured out in that momentous sigh. Snow began to fall gently as they walked together toward the apartment. Building the city seemed softer, kinder, as if sharing their miracle. The billionaire stopped at the door and knelt in front of Adam. "Merry Christmas," he said. Adam hugged him tightly. "Thank you, Cyrus." The door closed behind them. The billionaire stood alone in the snow for a long time. For the first time in years, he felt warmth without fire, fullness without wealth, peace without silence, and he knew this Christmas Eve would change his life forever. Morning light crept softly through the small apartment. Window touching the plain walls and simple furniture, Sarah woke with a sudden breath as if afraid the warmth around her would vanish. She sat up slowly, listening to the quiet hum of the heater and the steady breathing of Adam beside her. For a moment she thought it was a dream, but the keys lay on the table, catching the light and reality. Settled in with gentle weight, Adam stirred and opened his eyes. "Mama, are we still here?" he asked. In a small, hopeful voice, Sarah smiled, brushing his hair. "Yes, my love, we are safe today." Thea spent the morning in disbelief. Sarah made tea in the tiny kitchen, watching steam rise like a blessing. Adam laughed as he explored every corner, touching things carefully, as if the apartment might disappear if he moved too fast. For the first time in years, Sarah allowed herself to sit without fear of being asked to leave the afternoon. A knock came at the door. Sarah froze, her heart racing, old instincts rising. She opened it slowly to find the young billionaire standing there, dressed simply, without guards or luxury behind him. A woman with kind eyes held a folder. "Hope this is not too much," he said gently. "I wanted to check on you." Sarah stepped aside, embarrassed by the bare room, but he smiled as if it was a Palisith woman, introduced herself as a coordinator from his company. She explained that Sarah would start work at a small community office, helping with records and customer service. Training would be provided, fair hours, fair pay, childcare supports. Sarah listened, stunned, unable to speak. "You don't have experience," Sarah whispered. "You have integrity," he replied. "That is harder to find." Over the next weeks, life changed. Slowly but surely, Sarah learned. Her job made friends, felt dignity, returned step by step. Adam started school. Doctors treated his cough without charge. His laughter filled the apartment walls, once silent now echoed with light. Fight. The billionaire, whose name was Daniel, felt unsettled. He returned to his glass tower office, but numbers felt empty, meetings felt hollow. He kept thinking of Sarah's words. "God is watching." They followed him into every decision. Began visiting shelters, quietly donating anonymously, listening more than speaking. He reduced unnecessary luxury, invested in community programs, and visited the bakery. Every Christmas Eve, where everything had changed, months passed, and winter turned to spring. Daniel stood on a stage at a charity event, announcing a foundation focused on families like Sarah's, but as applause filled the room, he felt no pride, only responsibility. Evening, Sarah received a message asking her to meet Daniel at the office rooftop. She hesitated, but agreed when she arrived. The city glowed beneath them, lights stretching endlessly. "Wanted to thank you again," he said. "You already did more than enough." She replied, "No." He said, "You saved me from becoming someone empty." Sarah looked at him thoughtfully. "Wealth can buy comfort," she said, "but kindness gives meaning." Silence wrapped around them. Comfortable, honest time continued forward. Daniel became less of a name in magazines and more of a presence in lives that needed help. Sarah grew confident, promoted, trusted Adam, thrived strong, healthy. Christmas Eve, exactly a year later, Sarah and Adam stood outside the same bakery, snow falling softly again. Daniel joined them, holding 3 cups of hot chocolate. "Roomba, Mama," Adam said. Smiling, Sarah nodded, remembering hunger, fear, and choice. They walked together, not as benefactor and receiver, but as people bound by a moment of truth that changed all their paths. As bells rang in the distance, Daniel realized true wealth had found him not in profit, but in purpose, and Sarah knew that one honest decision made in the cold had rewritten their future forever.